Stop scrolling right now and listen. If you skip this message, you might waste the next 10 years of your life chasing the wrong things. We're talking about your time, your potential, and the way it quietly disappears when you keep waiting. You tell yourself that someday you'll be ready. You convince yourself the timing isn't right yet. But while you're waiting, someone else is building. Someone else with less experience, less talent, and fewer connections is taking action. And they're not waiting for permission. They're not overthinking every step they take. They're moving forward anyway, even when it's messy. This episode is called Stop Wasting Your Life, From Rags to Riches, because it's based on a truth most people ignore. The people who become wealthy are not always the smartest. They're not always the most educated or the most connected. They're the ones who make the decision to act when most others choose to wait. So if you've been sitting on an idea, a dream, or a goal you keep delaying, this is your wake-up call. And by the time this video ends, you'll know exactly what to do next. So what does this mean for you? It means that every excuse you've told yourself is now exposed. You don't need perfect timing or funding to begin. You don't need a business degree or a massive audience. You need movement. You need boldness. You need to act while others keep waiting. You build your future by building something today. You build it by learning one new skill that changes how you operate. And then you build on top of that, brick by brick, until your life looks nothing like the one you were handed. Let's start with a story about someone you already know, J.K. Rowling. She wasn't famous when she began. She wasn't wealthy or connected to anyone powerful. She was a struggling single mother with nothing but a story she couldn't ignore. She sat in cafes with barely enough money to eat, writing a fantasy novel on scraps of paper. Publishers rejected her again and again. People told her to give up, to get real, to be practical. But she didn't stop writing because something inside her refused to let go. That persistence led to Harry Potter. And that led to a global empire, built on one decision. She refused to quit when it was hard. She didn't wait to feel confident. She started with what she had. That's how wealth begins, one messy, determined step at a time. Think about Howard Schultz, the man who brought Starbucks to life. He didn't invent coffee or even start the company. He visited Italy and noticed something different. That cafes there weren't just places to grab a drink. They were places for connection, culture, and presence. He believed that experience could transform American culture. But most people told him it was a ridiculous idea. Still, he trusted his vision and pushed forward. He didn't just sell coffee, he sold belonging, identity, and experience. He built a brand that people returned to daily, not just for caffeine, but for how it made them feel. And that is what made him wealthy, creating something people couldn't ignore. Let me ask you something that really matters. Are you building something right now that will change your future? Or are you still waiting for things to feel perfect before you start? Because Elon Musk didn't wait for safety or certainty. He sold PayPal and put every dollar into Tesla and SpaceX. Most people thought he lost his mind, but he wasn't building for their approval. He was building to solve enormous problems that scared most people away. And because he was willing to take those risks, he reaped rewards no one else could touch. That's the real secret. Wealth follows bold vision, not timid effort. Tyler Perry's story is no different. He spent years living in his car while writing plays that no one came to watch. Show after show lost money, and most people would have given up entirely. But he kept going because he believed that the message inside him mattered deeply. Eventually, people began to listen. Audiences started showing up. He built a loyal following and turned it into a business empire. Today, he owns one of the biggest production studios in the country. And he built it not with resources, but with relentless faith and consistency. Let's talk about skills now, because without them, none of this matters. Alex Hormozi didn't get rich by chance or inheritance. He began by building gyms, but quickly realized that his growth would depend on learning higher value skills. He taught himself how to communicate with power and clarity. He learned how to create irresistible offers and designed systems that could run without him. And once he mastered those skills, he helped other business owners do the same. That led to equity, partnerships, and eventually a portfolio of businesses generating tens of millions. What started as a gym owner's hustle became a scaled, structured, and leveraged empire. Not because he worked longer hours, but because he made himself more valuable by learning what mattered most. So here's what that looks like in real life. You begin by building something small, maybe a digital product, a podcast, or a service. Then you learn how to get attention, how to speak directly to people's pain, and how to deliver real results. From there, you automate, you delegate, you scale. Every step teaches you something new, and every new skill becomes a multiplier of everything you built before. Let's look at Sara Blakely. She was selling fax machines, walking into offices cold every day. She had zero experience in fashion and no investors backing her. What she did have was a frustrating personal problem that no one had solved. She cut the feed off her pantyhose one day and created something better. Then she took that rough idea and refined it. She pitched it in person. She made the first sales herself. Eventually, one buyer gave her a shot, and she made that moment count. Spanx became a billion-dollar brand, built from nothing more than an idea, a problem, and the courage to act on both. The same applies to Mr. Beast. He didn't start with money, cameras, or a team. He started with a phone and an obsession with YouTube. He tested titles and thumbnails. He analyzed every second of every video. He didn't just post content, he studied attention itself. He reinvested everything back into better videos. And over time, that turned into an empire. Now he owns food brands, product lines, and entire businesses, powered by the audience he built from scratch. And let's talk about Rihanna. Many people think of her as just a singer, but she became a billionaire, not through music alone. She saw a gap in the beauty industry, a lack of diversity in shades and representation. Fenty Beauty was born out of a vision to include everyone. Her brand connected deeply with people because it solved a real emotional need. She built something people could identify with. She wasn't selling makeup, she was selling visibility and empowerment. That connection made her company explode globally. That's how you transform fame into wealth, by pairing attention with meaningful value. Let's take another example, Robert Kiyosaki. Before writing Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he was bankrupt. He had tried multiple businesses, many of which failed. But he had an insight. He noticed that school systems were not teaching people how to handle money. So he turned his personal story into a global financial education movement. He wrote a book, built a brand, and educated millions. He didn't teach theory from a textbook. He taught what he lived through, his wins, his losses, and what they meant. That's what people trusted. And trust, once earned, is one of the most valuable currencies you can build. Now consider Barbara Corcoran. She started with a $1,000 loan and turned it into a multi-million-dollar real estate firm. She was not born with connections or money. She had to outlearn and outwork people who doubted her. When she began, people didn't take her seriously. But she built a reputation by offering unique insights in the market, by paying attention to detail others missed. Her success didn't come from following templates. It came from breaking the rules strategically. Now think about Damon John. The founder of FUBU didn't have fashion experience. He used his mother's sewing machine to create the first hats and shirts. Then he wore them himself, got friends to wear them, and turned his brand into a movement. He didn't market a product. He marketed a culture, and that culture brought in millions. Or consider someone like Melanie Perkins, founder of Canva. She started with no tech background, but noticed that design software was too complicated for most people. So she built a product that made design easy, accessible, and fast. That product now has over 100 million users. What all these people have in common is not luck, but a mindset. They saw problems and refused to ignore them. They turned pain into purpose. They didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. So what does this mean for you? It means that every excuse you've told yourself is now exposed. You don't need perfect timing or funding to begin. You don't need a business degree or a massive audience. You need movement. You need boldness. You need to act while others keep waiting. You build your future by building something today. You build it by learning one new skill that changes how you operate. And then you build on top of that, brick by brick, until your life looks nothing like the one you were handed. So if you felt something shift while watching this video, don't ignore it. That feeling is momentum trying to wake you up. Let it carry you into action. Take that business idea off the shelf. Write the first page, record the first episode, build the first version of your product. And if you're serious about financial freedom, not just in theory, but in practice, then subscribe to NovaWealth right now. Like this video so others can find it too. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that their best life won't wait forever. Because your freedom is not hiding, it's waiting for you to begin.